think I have similar traits to Forest Gump in the sense I just don't give up and I kind of keep going. I had done the last 20 kilometers with both tires punctured.
Yeah. When I saw both the puncture tires, I couldn't believe that you'd still come third. And I think, is that your trait?
My priorities are not important. It is whatever everybody wants to do. If I want them to do something, that doesn't mean they want to do it. What changed it was when I got married. And what I realized was, yes, we are smart, we are hardworking. It doesn't mean others are not. And it's hard to build a business where you fundamentally don't want to take shortcuts. Strategy anybody can build. And there's not too much about a strategy, right? Basically, what we do is not rocket science. And as my daughter says, she calls me baby papa. Because she say, you think like a baby. And you explain things like a baby. So I think in very, very simple terms. I don't think in complex terms at all. Let's not do trivial stuff. Let's do real stuff.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I don't know when you're watching this, but I hope that it's been a good day or it's going to be one. I'm Tarun Mathur. I am going to be a host for what we call Built in Bharat. This is our attempt to meet with a lot of founders and a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of leaders from different industries, different companies who've built businesses, who've built ideas, who've solutioned, and try and find the softer aspects of it. What it takes for them, what got them here, what their families believe, and if hopefully they give out their secret sauce, then nothing like it. But our hope is that whoever's watching this actually believes that there is a human side of every genius, and we are able to uncover that. With that, I want to introduce someone who is very close friend. He's been a mentor, he's been a guru, he's been a boss, he's done my appraisal, so I have to say good things also. But on a very serious note, he has played a different role at each part of my life. There was a part where I was doing almost nothing with my life, and he found me and he gave me direction. Then I was doing something that I was actually good at, and he removes me from there and gives me something new. And I think that actually was the pivotal part of my life, which he may not even know till today. And then at different points in time, how he guided me almost not knowing. And with that, I want to introduce Mr. Yashish Dahiya, the founder, the chairman, the guy behind Policybazaar and PB Fintech. So welcome, Yashish.
Thank you.
Yashish, I want to start off by asking you to kind of go through what has been your life. Where were you much before all this started? Your childhood. What are the key memories you have, or things that you actually love regurgitating in your brain and thinking this is who I am, this is what I was, this is what my childhood.
So if I really go back to kind of childhood, I, a bit like you, was an army kid, and my dad was in the army, and we were always positioned in various cantonments, both separated as well as field. I loved field much more because that is when there was interesting things to do. I never liked cities as much. I was a bit, I would say, odd in the sense that I've always loved getting up early in the morning, getting dressed well before school, just being early to everything, and never been much of a person who prepared a lot for exams, etc. It was always whatever I had prepared. At the point of exam, I wouldn't take too much stress, but I used to be kind of okay. And I think so. One thing that was standard about me was this sort of discipline ahead of at least intelligence was very clear. So discipline was much before that. And I think across my childhood, I think I wasn't a very good student, but no teacher thought I was a naughty student. Like I wasn't the one who was creating a ruckus in any way. The teachers almost thought this guy tries, but he doesn't get it. Like he, a bit dumb, if you would. So was perhaps right. I've always identified myself as a runner since I was about 8 years of age. I figured out I was good at running, and that's what childhood was, and it passed quite quickly.
Did you ever meet any of those teachers who thought you were daft back then, and well, you are where you are now?
It's the teachers were okay. I do have a few friends who, when we were growing up, who used to think, and it's good, their opinions have changed, but they don't say that they got it wrong. They said you changed. So, but yeah, that was it. I always enjoyed sports. I enjoyed running. I enjoyed a little bit of swimming. I was never good at swimming, but Studies I was moderate at. And as time progressed, especially at the age of over 15 or so, some people started thinking, at least classmates started thinking I was quite good at some subjects.
Yeah, this tallies in with one incident, and I remember that I had come to Talkatore Stadium when you were running your, I think, your first
Triathlon,
triathlon,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And I remember this is a very interesting one. The first part was actually swimming. So he went, he swam, and he was the first to come out. So while swimming is not his best, maybe for whatever reason and good reasons, he was the first, and he came out and he took his bicycle. And I've seen him cycling before, so I know he's a very strong cyclist. And he went and he did all of that, and I in the meantime I must have had a wink and a tea, and he comes back after about like 1 hour.
Yeah.
And he comes back, but I saw that 2-3 people had overtaken and they came. I thought, why is he kind of why did he come third or something? I remember you coming third or fourth. I was like, this guy's really lost it, right? He maybe became lazy after his swim or something. But then he just comes and he says, Terry, hold my cycle. And he says, dono tire puncture the. And I was like,
I had done the last 20 kilometers with both tires punctured.
Yeah. So
I remember that.
And I think that day you gained a lot of respect, because it's very, very tough to really get the respect word in a friendship, right? So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They're like your friends, right?
Yeah.
And when I saw both the puncture tires, I couldn't believe that you'd still come third. And I think, is that your trait? Is that how you've always been? Or
I think as I grew up and as I saw the movie Forest Gump,
Yeah.
a lot of people think I have similar traits to Forrest Gump, in the sense I just don't give up and I kind of keep going. It's very difficult. Like my daughter says, right? So when we compete at times, you're that one person who also outcompetes your kids in swimming or running, and is so happy when they beat them.
Yeah.
In the sense, when I beat them. So he says almost like, it's weird. And she says the second thing she says is, when Papa gets tired, he starts laughing. So it's not like I'm crying. I actually start laughing when I get tired. So it's a bit nuts, yeah.
But it's fun. And how much time do you do you run with them a lot, or
Whenever I get a chance, yeah. It's not been very often. Whenever I get a chance, which is, as I said, not very often. So one of my big regrets in life is that I couldn't spend enough time with them and get them to get to their full potential, and at least running, swimming, etc. So whenever I'm with them for a couple of months, they really improve, and then they start going back to life.
On the same point, how difficult was it for them? Because it was like your dad was staying in field and separate family, etc. So how difficult was it for them? Because I know that they were really young when we started, and here it is.
I think both of them, from me being away, took it slightly differently. My son was extremely emotional, so he would express quite a bit. We used to call him a professional moaner. My daughter, on the other hand, would, because I used to notice this, she would just turn around and say, okay, bye, and turn around. But you had to, once in a while, I would just hold and I would wait till she turned around. And whenever she turned around, she actually had tears in her eyes. But she would hide her emotions. It is hard for kids at that age. They were, 5 and 3.
So are you still stuck up and doing your stuff and not doing their stuff? Or?
I've kind of now, two things have happened. One is I've given up on the thought that is going to be everybody's priority. I've also started to become a little different. Suppose I go to meet them, they'll say, we know your swimming time is coming, so you need to go. But I've started saying, okay, it's okay. I can give up swimming one day. There is no big deal. So I've started prioritizing at times, because that's what you all learn. We all learn that, my priorities are not important. It is whatever everybody wants to do. If I want them to do something, that doesn't mean they want to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe at times I have to change. And I'm just starting to do that. It's come very late to me, but now I am starting to do that.
Yeah, now I'm afraid that my kids are going to watch this and they're going to make me do the same thing. This may not have been a very good idea, but but when you were building Policybazaar, and I've seen this happen to me also. You get so encompassed within the work. You're so into it, and so one is, when you started, did you think that it would take so much time, so much of energy, so much of it does drain out anyone, right? I mean, family side. What was it like? What was it like in the very beginning?
See, I think, you always have a strategy which seems more effortless than what the actual doing is. That's obvious. Like, you were there on that time, right? We thought it was simple. You have a server, you switch on the electricity, and things would work. And if you remember, the person who came put the connections wrong, and so the server just wouldn't come on. And that was the day we were supposed to take our things live. So we guys sat all night, and by 3 o'clock the server came on. And finally, you know what? It was me who found. So there were a lot of people who were very specialized, who were trying to figure out what was wrong with the whole thing. It was me just finding that, look, the network itself, the wires were connected wrongly. So it was at the end of it that simple. There was nothing wrong with the server, right? Because these were pretty expensive servers.
Yeah.
So stuff happens, and you have to get involved, and you have to move stuff and whatever. So it strategically, everything looks a lot simpler than the operations is. And genuinely, the fun is in the operations, because strategy anybody can build. And there's not too much about a strategy, right? Basically, what we do is not rocket science, but it's in actually doing it that you differentiate between doing it well or not doing it well enough, or taking shortcuts. And it's hard to build a business where you fundamentally don't want to take shortcuts.
Yeah. And the one question, now that I have, now that I'm setting up Policybazaar for business, the one question that I keep at least thinking in my mind, I wanted to ask you this is, when you're building this up, there's so many risks, right? Things can go wrong. They are jittery times. And is there some time where you feel, oh, I really got to protect this, and this is really important, or should I have some external help for it? Like, have you ever thought of security and protection? Like, we talk about beings, right? We keep talking about term and health for individuals, but for businesses, is that protection on top
Very,
of mind
very,
or no?
very necessary in many ways. There are various reasons why a business can fail. There are various reasons why your data can be breached. You can have all kinds of, today the world is getting sophisticated. I know of many times when, people had accidents in the office, when people had deaths in the office. It's happened, right? 17 years is a long time. We today are almost 20 plus thousand employees. Stuff happens all the time. And however good a company's intention is, a company cannot always have the resources to take care of these bad situations. And so it's very good if somebody has thought about how to make sure such events will be managed. Very simple stuff, right? Bike guys have an accident, somebody expires, something happens, some problem happens, some people have a fight. We've had all kinds of situations.
Yeah.
But in those situations, if the one thing you don't have to think about, because we've had to think about those things, what will happen to this person's family? What will happen to this person's financial thing? What would happen to our data center? What would happen if our people, thankfully from our regulator, we are required to have professional indemnity. Otherwise, what happens if our person miscommunicates a product, right? That can be a big bill. So we have millions of dollars of, for example, on our DNO side. Now we're a large organization, but our directors, and we increased it to about, I think, 500 crores now, because you shouldn't have to worry about that.
Yeah.
And that most people in their immaturity don't worry about it, but don't do anything about it either. And then one day you wake up with a terrible situation. And we've been on both sides. We've been on the terrible situation side, and we've been on the, eventually getting smarter and figuring out everything and trying to do everything as well.
Yeah. And when it comes to people, we talk to a lot of HR leads and HR heads and HR managers. I have seen that organizations, they're very focused, of course. So when the HR, they really want to look after employees, they really want to do people. But is it important for the manager? How important was it for you that people do well? How much time did you spend on people?
I see things in two perspectives. People shouldn't have to worry about bad stuff that happens in life. It's very important that when such events are happening or something is happening, at least they're not. I learned this from the army in a way, right? If something bad happened, the family was always taken care of in the army, right? Of course, emotionally it had an impact, but financially, if anything, I would say in bad situations, and this is probably a wrong word, but from a financial perspective, the family was actually maybe even a slightly better off. That's what I noticed as I grew up and I think that is the minimum one should organize for. The problem is we don't feel that responsibility till it actually comes up. And these organizations like the army, etc., have thought it through over the years, over the ages. And a lot of these systems have been set in place. I think social security is a very big area. If you think about governments, if you look at the European governments, the biggest part of their budget, of their spending, is social security. Up to 20-30% of GDP gets spent on social security. So I think it's a very essential, it is called an essential need. That people should not have to worry beyond a point about things going really bad. In the initial days, I used to find it very strange. But I had some friends who would look up contracts and see what the benefits are, because those were very important to them. And specifically things like, how much is my health cover going to be? How much is what is the floater of this organization? How will it come together? What are the wellness benefits? Do I get anything else? How is the company taking care of me? It's not about Sodexo coupons. Let's not do trivial stuff. Let's do real stuff, which actually benefits. See, that's what I would say. Let's try and do real stuff, which even the person who's getting the benefit does not realize is the most beneficial thing for them. And today they actually might even see it as a bit of a pain.
Yeah.
But it's eventually in the time of need, it's the most beneficial thing.
Yeah. This 2-3% less salary is not an indication for me in any way.
No,
right?
no. I think you will be much. It'll be cut off by a lot more for you. Don't worry.
Can we change that answer? Can we cut that part out at least? I've forgotten what I wanted to ask. But I genuinely want to ask. You did engineering, and you also went to IMA. You also went to INSEAD. One question I always had is, why did you do it twice? Like, समझ नहीं आया या?
नहीं, समझ नहीं आया was see, I think I went from IIT to IIM with no experience. And I think doing an MBA, that's, in hindsight, a pretty stupid thing. I'll explain why. You don't go to an MBA to get grades. You go to an MBA to learn about experiences that would make you better when you get to the job, in terms of, see, what do you need in job? You don't need super intelligence, right? Of course, it's good to be intelligent. It's good to be normal. But there's not a huge amount of difference between the brightest guy and the person who's 10% less bright. The difference is much more around how you get along people, how you can get work done, and how you can work alongside people and teams and being effective. It's much more about emotional intelligence. And for most people, without experience, they have, like, let me give you a very simple example. When I went to IIM, I would treat subjects like organization behavior as, okay, this is like SUPW, right? Let's focus on maths, accounting, finance. Little did I realize that what I had learned at IIT was enough.
Yeah.
There wasn't anything additional that was going to help me in my career from a maths or a whatever perspective, right? Unless I was going to become a derivatives trader or something.
Yeah.
So whatever I learned in my options theory, etc., yeah, I can use it, but it helps me at times, but that's probably 2% of when it helps me, right? 98% it never helps me, right? 98% it's people dealing and all those things. And that's where organization behavior is actually one of the most important classes, right? Which, if you went straight from IIT to IIM, you would most likely disregard. What kind of organization? Like yesterday I was thinking about it. What kind of an organization are, and these are very important decisions and very important, we are a BU-centric organization. What roles does a CFO have in our organization? Or do we just need a financial controller? Because the CFO has different costs. So, those kind of things, right? Now, the second thing, we believe brightness is all about mathematical or whatever, same thing I've said.
Yeah.
Right? I think when I went to INSEAD for a very simple reason. My salary was way too low. I was getting married. So I had the INSEAD admission before I had the IIM admission, just by the way. It's just, yeah. So I had it since 1993. So I received the admission in my third year of IIT Delhi. Because I had met with the dean at INSEAD and had applied, and I was general secretary at IIT. So I was quite impressed by this college that existed in France, and in 1 year you could get an MBA. So I had applied and I got admission also. But I kept deferring it for, as you can imagine, right, almost 7 years. And eventually it became, this year if you don't take it, now we won't defer it anymore. So I had it before. Of course, paying the cost was a big amount.
Yeah.
It wasn't like I wanted to do it. What changed it was when I got married. Till then, I never cared about salary. But when I got married, uh, my wife was a graduate from NIFT, and her salary was 1.5 times mine. And she says this is not true, but a question I was asked by one of her parents, that if you're going to live in Bombay, how exactly are you going to support this situation, right? Because I used to live in a shared flat, shared room. And so how exactly was I going to make this happen on a 13,000 rupee salary? How exactly was I going to? She was at 31,000, I was at 13,000, right? And I had done, and she also asked me, you've done IIT, you've done IIM, but you're at 13,000. I'm a NIFT graduate and I'm earning 2.5 times you. Something wrong with you, right? So, and she didn't ask in a mean way. She's not a very money-minded person,
Yeah.
but she just said, "Is something wrong with you? Have you
Yeah.
not negotiated right or something?" And that did wake up to me to a fact that this, from a financial perspective, was not a feasible situation. That is
Makes sense.
really it. And so I just went to get a job which would change my situation. And but when I got there, it was one of the best decisions of my life, because I suddenly learned why Italians are bright. See, we here think of everybody as one. Why Italians are bright? Why French are bright? Why the Spanish are bright? Think about it. They are selling you bags which can be manufactured in 50 rupees for 5 lakh rupees. There must be some smarts in that. They're selling you grape juice as champagne, as burgundy, as something, right? There are yachts there selling for $100 million. They built Ferrari, they built Maserati, right? How the hell can they be so stupid? How the hell can they be lazy? Right? When they are the ones who are exporting to the world. You look at the German manufacturing.
Yeah.
Now, this I only realized, maybe I should have realized it before that. But this I realized after going to INSEAD. And one of the big changes that it brought to me, and even today, you see that in our conversations, right?
Yeah.
I have a very international perspective to things. So I am Indian, I'll always stay Indian. But I can see things from many perspectives. So, and that balance of perspectives, at times an advantage, at times a disadvantage. Right? But I think mostly an advantage, because you just have so many different views. You can see things from an American perspective, you can see things from a European perspective, you can see things from an Indian perspective, you can see things from a Japanese perspective. You can see, because you have friends. So you've lived with them in that culture and you've interacted with that culture. You know how. And what I realized was, yes, we are smart, we are hardworking, but doesn't mean others are not. We're not unique in this world. Everybody has different kinds of smartness, and people think differently, and people evolve differently. And I'm not saying, so, and that's what I took away from it, right? And it's not just that. I built some very good relationships. Uh, who so I'm very happy I did that. In fact, this is going to be bad, right? But I've always said it. I wear the truth on my sleeve. To me, I wish I hadn't gone to IMA. Those were the 2 years of my life that I wish I had just cut out of my life, because it honestly did not add a huge amount of value to me.
But you did meet a lot of
I
friends.
made good friends,
Yeah.
and that's the part that add value. But from an education perspective, it actually did not, because I think after IIT, from a job perspective, I knew pretty much the same. But I did make some good friends, and I continue to be friends with them. But if I hadn't gone to INSEAD, it would have been a real miss.
I understand. And how do you define yourself now? Are you a startup guy? Are you the chairman of a large corporate? How do you look at it now? Like when I went into it, and I say we're in a startup, and people mock me saying you are now part of a 8 7 8 billion whatever we are. So it's not really less anymore. But I at least feel like a startup guy. And is that true for you?
See, I've been always very comfortable with who I am.
Yeah.
And I believe I haven't changed at all.
Yeah.
So, because I had no need to change. In fact, I believe if I changed in any way, besides learning, uh, then I perhaps was unhappy with who I was, which isn't the case at all. I was very unhappy with who I was, and I'm very happy with who I am, and it's the same person, and it's the same way that I think as long as I live, I will stay the same person. I uh, at times it does feel odd that yeah, there is an organization out there, there is responsibilities, the responsibilities have grown, but from an individual perspective, it is pretty much the same. Nothing seems to have changed from an individual perspective. We And I think that's true for most people at Policy Bazaar.
So you're like Pluto. Like Pluto, somebody said that it's a planet when we were kids, we explored on the planet, then it became a dwarf planet, then it became a planet again. And the only person who doesn't care is Pluto.
It's
Right? It's
Pluto,
like
exactly. So to me, it doesn't matter. And there's some friends who like to talk about this and all, and they say maybe that's because you take your sports very seriously.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because you take your kids very seriously. Maybe because you take your work friends very seriously. Maybe you take your work very seriously. I don't know what it is, but actually, yeah, it hasn't. I don't think it has changed me as an individual too much, because I think people have interacted with me through these years, and they will probably say the same thing.
Yeah, yeah. I'm on the last leg of questions. I also want to understand now that you're again starting something. Is it because you genuinely loved, you really wanted to start up something, genuinely get involved? Because is it like a nasha, or is it because what drives you internally? Like, of course, the idea, of course, we'll
I
talk
think
about.
just like in Policy Bazaar, after a couple of years, one gets driven by deep responsibility. And what is the natural next phase? See, I have a strength, I have a weakness. The strength is, I think, very long term. And as my daughter says, she calls me baby baba, because she say you think like a baby and you explain things like a baby. So I think in very, very simple terms. I don't think in complex terms at all. And I think over the long term, simple things have a way of appearing. Like when we started Policy Bazaar, the basic thinking was, why the hell is the country not buying health insurance and term insurance, which is the most important product for them
Yeah, yeah,
from an insurance perspective?
yeah,
Why are they buying all this other stuff, which they may or may not, but at least the first thing any family should do is buy health insurance and term insurance before they do anything else in insurance.
yeah,
Right? It's a very simple thing. And those two were less than 1% of the industry's premium.
yeah,
Now you tell me who couldn't see that? Everybody could see that. Right? But one entity sort of went in and spent the next 17 years of their life and plans to spend the next 20 in just solving for that. And so I don't think there's too much in the strategy. Today, as I think about it, what does the customer want once he buys insurance? He doesn't want any pain at claims.
yeah,
Today, with the conflict of interest between hospitals, this and this, it doesn't work. The
Yeah.
customer's claims get screwed.
Yeah.
Right? And that needs to be solved. Now, then people will tell you this is going to be hard. This is going to be, you have never run hospitals. You don't know anything about healthcare. Forget run hospitals. You haven't even been to a hospital properly. Right? Matlab, I'm glad I haven't. But the point is, so you will hear all these things. To me, as that Forest Gump, this is all noise.
Yeah.
I have decided we're going to head somewhere. We're going to head there. It'll take a long time. And as they say, when I get tired, I'll start laughing. And I think that becomes the biggest strength, right? Strategic clarity, but then the ability to stay there for a very, 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 very long time. Eventually, something happens here. And don't think too complex. ये भी हो जाएगा, वो भी हो जाएगा, फिर ये भी हो जाएगा, फिर वो भी हो जाएगा. नहीं. Let's just focus on a simple thing. Customer is paying 10,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees a year. They don't want to deal with bill or claims. They want to be treated. They don't want to fall sick again and again. They don't like operations. Simple. What is news about that? Rest is all the actual doing. Doing is usually not so hard. It's enjoyable.
Yeah,
Actually, the fun is in doing.
Yeah.
There are two principles that I come across. One is whatever you do is pleasure, whatever others do is pain. It's a very important thing. Huh? Think about an organization also. You'd find it in your own BU, right?
Yeah.
Whatever you are doing is pleasure. Whatever anybody else tries to do in your area is going to be pain. Whether it's the finance guy, whether it's the HR guy, whether it's the admin guy, whether it's the whoever. As long as it's in your control, it is pleasure. As long as it's outside of control, it's pain. That's a natural phenomenon. So I think the second thing is, till you do benefit for the other person, you will never get benefit. And so objective is, when you're dealing with an insurance company, think not about how much money you will make, think about how much benefit you can give to the insurance company, which nobody else can give, so that you become more and more important, right? These are the two principles, simple. I don't think there's any other principle. And think in the same manner with employees. Think in the same manner with friends. What are we adding to this person? Why should this person?
Yeah.
That person will figure out how they add back to you, right? Now, I'm very lucky that I'm allowed to think long term and have always been, and have the energy and the team support to execute really long term. And we are all sort of alike. It's very rare to find that. Otherwise, sometimes you may not have the resources, sometimes you take missteps, sometimes things go wrong. But it's a very different thing when you can sit calmly, as they say, sit in stillness, make decisions without fear, and keep going.
Fantastic. One last question, I think, is that you're army brat. You enjoyed your times in peace and field. You've gone to IIT. You've gone to 2 MBA degrees. You went for jobs. You did your startup. You went to another startup. The ends all making billions. Did you ever really envisage that you'd be sitting opposite such a sexy guy in a podcast?
I've associated a lot with you ever since I got to know 17, 18 years ago
Yeah.
that you are also an army kid. So I always associated a lot with you. And so, yeah, I'm very happy that I get this chance to have spent 17 years with you, and you are here and I'm here. So
Yeah.
not much has changed. Not much has changed. You become a big guy.
अब तो काफी कम कर दिया
नहीं, I mean, that's all.
Thanks, Yashish. Thank you so much for your time, for all the insights, for all the anecdotes. I hope a lot of people can draw actually value. I will, the traits that I catch on, which I try to ape as much as I can, but I can't do, is how do you sustain something for such a long time? How do you run a marathon? How do you triathlon? How do you all the time? You call them Iron Man, you give them all the tags, but I have seen it happen and I feel I can't do it. But that trait to me is a very followable trait. I think it's a very, very difficult thing to do, and I think you enjoy that difficulty. So enjoying that difficulty to me is a key part of everything. And Ashish, you've embodied that. You've been able to kind of look at your family life, try and do the best there. Look at your career, do the best there. Look at a company and a vision, because like you said, after 2 years it became all about the mission, all about getting to health and term and protection. And is it as a final answer, is it the most important thing? Is a mission the most important thing when you want to build something?
No, so I'll tell you what you have done, and not just you, but 20 other people in the company have done. First of all, you have also run those marathons, because effectively the marathon's been going on for the last 17 years, right? But more importantly, you have blindly followed.
Yeah.
Which by the way, I could not have done. I'm telling you, I don't have that ability where somebody tells me this is my vision and I become part of that vision and I follow that person for the next 17 years. Now, that's what makes me.
Yeah.
Because if there isn't that team that believes in you, and there may be some things that they can see, but still you are blessed when there is a team that believes in you, that follows, that a captain is only good as long as they have a team. They say there is no point being a leader if you don't have a team, right? Leader of what? As they were saying, I think some guy joked, right? Champions of the world. So he says, which world? This game is not played outside the USA. So I guess that is the harder job actually. And there are a lot of people in this company who have done that. And I think that is what makes us great. So I'm kind of happy.
Yeah. It's not hard. Actually, I thought that, because you rode that bicycle with 2 puncture tires. मैंने कहा 20 लोग हैं, अगर मैं
That I don't give up.
मैं अगर पंचर टायर निकला तो भी साइकिल तो चलती रहेगी.
So my father taught me a very interesting thing. So I used to give up quite a bit as I was a very young kid.
I don't believe that.
So at times, I would get tired,
Yeah.
and I would think I'm getting tired. That thing that my daughter says when he gets tired, he starts laughing.
Yeah.
That has actually come from my father. because he told me that when you're in a race and you're getting tired, think that the other person is also getting tired. And the faster you run, that other person will get tired even more.
Mm.
So that is a vicious thing he taught me. And it just, I was a kid that time. I was just about 10 years old or 11 years old. That just got into the head. So if you ask people who've competed with me in races, they will tell you that as the race progresses, he starts going faster and faster and faster. Or at least that's how I was in competitive situations. And that's coming from, they're not realizing I'm feeding off their tiredness. And that is a vicious ability. Like I call it vicious because it is vicious. If you're an equal, see, if you're an Usain Bolt, I can't do jack, right? The guy's gone so far ahead, I can't do a jack. But if you're an equal, there's never been an equal who can beat me. Because if you're an equal, impossible. I'm just going to get. It's like that. You're just
Like
getting
Seabiscuit.
stronger.
Like Seabiscuit.
Yeah. You're getting stronger and stronger and stronger
Yeah.
as the other person getting tired and tired and tired.
Yeah.
So that is crazy, right? So that's crazy, and I'm very glad my dad gave me that kind of little lesson.
I'm very glad nobody told me to compete with you.
You remember that one, right?
Yeah.
We were once at this vacation, and all of us were together, and so I was going into the water, and I could hold my breath for like whatever, 30 seconds, 40 seconds. And they took somebody's name and they said, look, that person can hold his breath for 5 minutes. I just stood there, put my hand up there, and I went in. I said, tap the hand when 5 minutes are over. And if they hadn't tapped the hand, I wouldn't have come out of the water. So eventually, once 5 minutes were over, somebody tapped the hand.
Joke. I don't even know the guy, right? We used to.
Whatever.
He was a competitor. He used to really hate him. देखो वो तो 5 मिनट तक करता है. I have not never met the guy properly. I never had a free conversation. But I just did it to kind of आग लगाने के लिए. I think your best was 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Whatever.
You went for 3.
I just
4.
put my hand up there. I said, tap it after that time is over. Till then, don't tap my hand by mistake.
We tapped it because we didn't want to lose the guy. यार मतलब हमारी कंपनी चला रही है हमारा राशन पानी उसके रहने से आ रहा है.
But that's it, and that is quite interesting.
Yeah. What a great time. But thank you so much, Yashish. I run out of questions, but I would like to do this again many times. I love your candor. I love the part that you're able to engage with any audience much better. I thought I had learned some anecdotes कि मैं ये बीच में बोलूँगा, but you took away all of that.
मेरे से तू क्या सीखेगा यार? मतलब we've been together so long.
Thank you everyone for joining in, listening to us, giving us a ear. And I'm especially thankful to Yashish for sharing what has happened, what has been in his life, how it came about. And I hope that you gather some excerpts from here which will help you in your life. As a person, as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a leader. One thing that I think you learned from Yashish is that he's the same person. He was also a jobby. He was also a founder. He's also been a part of something that was almost not funded to a place where we're sitting an organization which looks at the next 20 years. And I think it's very important to have that one mission in your life to follow, to do something you really believe in. And I think Yashish embodies that. I think he's been a runner. He knows he has to get to a finish line, but that doesn't mean he won't wake up for the next marathon. And I take a lot from this, and I wish that all of you a very, very successful day, month, year, life ahead. And thank you so much. Have a good evening, good morning, good afternoon. I did not get that in order, but I hope you do. Thank you.
Thank you.